Good. Good morning. We are so blessed and lucky and grateful to have such a wonderful choir here week after week. So thank you, choir, for closing us off. So good afternoon. I'd like to thank you for sticking around. And I'd really like to thank you for your patience, because I don't think I could have stood up here one more time to tell you we're working on it or more information is coming soon. We have information for you today. Secondly, a heartfelt thank you to Cindy Brownlee and Glenn Brophy, who have worked tirelessly on today's presentation and since the rollout of this entire process way back to the beginning of when we first started talking about Faith Forward 2030 initiative. We do have some important information to share with you this afternoon, which is just the beginning of what I anticipate to be a longer discussion. The Faith Forward 2030 Building Recommendation Committee was tasked with making a recommendation for making our buildings sustainable to 2030 and beyond. I would like to extend my gratitude also to the committee members, which consisted of Glenn Brophy, Bob Cook, Jim Dixon, Jerry Foster, the late Jim Evans, and some other very valuable drop-ins. As you know, this committee has been hard at work hiring, measuring, comparing, discussing, predicting, and now has brought a recommendation to the board. Glenn Brophy, past chair of the board and chair of the Faith Forward 2030 Building Recommendation Committee, will be sharing their findings and their recommendation today.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. And she sells herself short in terms of not being involved. She's been involved in this from the get-go as well. So I'll start with a spoiler alert. Our Building Recommendation Committee had a mandate of assessing whether our church building would be sustainable for Trinity for 2030 and beyond. And we have come to the conclusion that to meet this mandate, we need to do something about the various issues we've identified. So doing nothing is not an option. Now it's time to talk about what we need to do, as there are several options open to us. Fixing this building is one option, and I'll be describing that a little bit further. So first, the process of how we came to this conclusion. This is how we went about our work. We started with, if I get the second slide, Mike, we fixed the floor just outside the kitchen. Everybody remember that it had sunk. We found that there had been water coming into that position for a long time, and the joists had rotted away. We ended up repairing that first. We then hired Eugene Longstreet, a structural engineer. He was a structural engineer involved when we had the recent roof collapse up in this corner, to do a structural analysis. We've also done some work and investigation into looking at a brick spalling problem that we have with the bricks outside, and we've been addressing a drains issue. So, make sure I haven't missed anything here. So we identified some structural issues. We have a brick spalling problem. We then, after we identified these structural issues, we went to a couple of contractors, Thermoacoustics and de Gagne, to get budget estimates on the repairs. So I'm going to report those for you today. And Hume Painting provided us with an estimate for taking care of the brick problem if we end up going that way. So this is what we found. We're going to work from the bottom up. So if I can get the next slide, please. This is the post that's closest to the McIntyre Street entrance downstairs. Okay? And at that post, and around that post, you'll notice the next slide, please. This is a map showing the height of the floor. This was done by John Roberts and Jim Nixon, I think, a couple of years ago. And the report on that showed that that floor around that area was typically 3 to 3 3/4 inches below level, the rest of the floor. And there was one deep spot that was 6 1/4 inches. The next post above it, the next slide. This is the post right in that area, and along with the beam. And the concerning part is there's evidence you can see that there has been movement. You can see the cracks above the top of the post, and it's been lost in time as to when that happened. But you can see that there is a steel strap across the top to try and deal with it. Now, this is the worst particular post downstairs. But one of the things that Eugene has told us, that when they do the calculations, the posts and columns have been under-designed right from the get-go. And that's why we've seen some motion. Okay? So those need to be strengthened, and the proposed solution is to provide columns alongside either side of those posts, so right beside it, and then columns across the top. If you go down and have a critical eye, you can see that the ceiling itself is sagging in places, and that would be some part of the process, is trying to figure out how to deal with those sags at the same time as we strengthen it. Okay? So if we can go to the next slide, please. This is going to be, we're not going to get a lot out of this, but let's try this way then. So this is to do with the side roofs. We have a major roof up here, up top, that sheds snow down to these side roofs, and we have these barrel ceilings. These barrel ceilings, you can see them on both sides. You can see where the repair was done. This was 2017, 19, 17, 19. $280,000 it cost us to fix that. And these roofs are structured like this, where you have a post and another post, and up about here, there is a beam that runs across, okay? On the far wall, it's of course supported on the far wall, and that is 3 layers of brick on both sides, okay? In between is a set of rafters that support the roof, and it's not real easy to see on this drawing. I can't even point at it really, but you can see where you've got the central roof and then the side roofs. And these side roofs have been designed to handle 30 pounds per square foot. So if you can imagine a square foot of snow, 30 pounds, that's what they're designed to handle. And that's that entire roof system, this beam and the support on the far side and the rafters that run both ways, okay? Whether that was correct at the time it was built, who knows? The reality is that now the building code suggests that we should be designing for between 25 pounds per square foot, remember it's designed for 30, and 130 pounds per square foot, with it getting to be much stronger and needing more strength at the top, at the peak, right here just on the inside of this over here. So it's 130 here and 25 down at that end. And remember, we're designed for 30. And the reason that has gone up so much is a great deal of it is climate change. The folks that are designing building codes are designing buildings to last a long time. So they're trying to predict what the weather will look like over the long time, or sustainable 2030, forward 2030 sustainability, that kind of sustainability. So we see this as being an important part of meeting our mandate, is getting to the point where people don't have to worry about this going forward. Okay? So this drawing I had brought up, and it's not, unfortunately not really useful, but you can see the kind of trapezoidal areas. That's just showing you the different snow loading that is required, that needs to be handled. So again, these are your columns. There's beams in between. These will be replaced. The proposed fix is that these would be replaced, and then the rafters themselves will be replaced. And the way that's done is the rafters are sitting there like this. They'll take, if I'll show you on the side now, we'll take and, use laminated boards that will go alongside it, and the design that's contemplated will give us 175 PSF design. So remember, the current building code's asking us to go from 25 to 130 as we go from the outside edge to the metal. Okay? And I'm sure some of it's confusing. Let's talk about it downstairs for coffee. Any questions that might come up from that? Okay? All right. On to the next slide. And Cindy's going to hand out, I've got 3 bags of pieces of brick that I picked up just around the outside of the building, so you can get some idea of the kind of things that are falling down. And the history of this is that apparently, I'm not sure if any folks might remember, but apparently at one point the church bricks were all quite black, from the presence of trains in the area, and someone decided at that point to sandblast the bricks. And one of the consequences of that is it took off the layer that protected the bricks from water ingress. So the water will come in, and if there's any cracks, it'll come in, and then it freezes and pops it, freeze thaw, and it pops these pieces off. Keep in mind, we've got 3 layers of bricks on both sides, 4 layers at the bottom. We don't have a structural issue as a consequence of these bricks, brick spalling. The concern is that these are dropping in, can I get the next slide, please? This is where we have a lot of folks spend a lot of time over in Ions Garden. And it happens to be the worst part for spalling as well. As you can see the blackness, and that's the area. If you go back up there, look, you see there's a fair amount of cracking. I don't know what the number is, but it's probably around 20%, 15% of the bricks have got the evidence of cracks. And so, they shed little ones and they shed big ones. So you can see this is something you wouldn't want to have fall on you. Okay, here's the numbers. Next slide. Our structural repair. The average bid we had was $775,000. Keep in mind that these are for estimates for budget purposes only. The only way we get more firm numbers is once we get to the point where we have bid documents, probably have an external architect involved in creating those bid documents. There's permitting, there's a whole series of things that'll be involved. In the one bid, I think there's about $150,000 of contingencies. In other words, the contractor could not identify how much that was going to be. Could be more, could be less, and their price would change as a consequence. But we thought it was important to share with you the volume or the magnitude of this issue that we're talking about. The bulk of the expenditure we're talking about is these 2 roofs. The expenditures downstairs are not, I shouldn't put a number on it, but the bulk is certainly up here, okay? Recognize this is a renovation. There may be some surprises. That's probably being fairly optimistic. It's likely there's going to be surprises. Of course, there's likely new surprises in other ways as well. So, in summary, our committee has assessed the situation, and in order to meet our Faith Forward 2030 mandate to leave a sustainable building, we are recommending that we have to address these issues in some way. Okay, and I'll turn it back over to Amanda.
Thank you, Glenn. That's a lot to digest. As we honor the financial and spiritual commitment of those who have gone before us and recognize our privilege to be stewards of this property and building, we also remember that we are ultimately grounded in the radical mission and ministry of Christ. Jesus challenged the status quo, broke down barriers, prioritized the most vulnerable. We need to consider both our own mission. We believe God is calling Trinity United Church to reach out and serve the wider community and the world, nurture spirituality in people of all ages, be a safe, open, welcoming, inclusive community of faith, and also the larger church's vision of bold discipleship, daring justice, and deep spirituality. I have a quote from a document called The Theology of Place that I'm happy to share. It's by Daniel Reed. The question is not simply how to maintain or use our space, but how that space can help us live out our purpose. Does our current property support the work we feel called to do? Are there new creative ways to use our space that align with our mission of justice and love? Or might our mission call us to let go of certain resources in order to be more faithful to the work of the Spirit? No matter what our next steps are, it will require prayerful consideration, financial and spiritual commitment to our church family, hope for the future of Trinity, and ultimately faith that God is with us. Having been provided the recommendation from the Faith Forward 2030 Building Committee, the board has identified 3 broad options. Number 1, like Glenn already mentioned, we could repair the issues in the existing building. He has indicated the costs of those. Cindy will be describing option 2, which is to partner with another organization to share space, amalgamate, or merge with another congregation. Cindy.
During the pandemic, things changed, and they changed fast. When you think back on it, could you ever have imagined that our church would just close one Sunday and not open for many, many months? And then reopen with restrictions that we also never could have imagined? That we would shift to a new normal that was anything but normal, and that we would take this rapid and drastic change and figure out a way that allows us to still continue to worship together, even if it was virtually. Then we would figure out new ways to remain connected, care for one another, continue to participate in worship and music, without ever walking into our building on a Sunday morning or any morning. This tells me that together, when we put our minds to it, we can do things that we never could have imagined. This fills me with hope as we explore these difficult options for the future. I will be sharing some thoughts about the options to develop partnerships. Partnering, merging, amalgamating, sharing space are just some of the options that we could consider. To work with others in new and innovative ways. And in some cases, churches choose these options as a way to survive. But at Trinity, we would explore this as a way to ensure that we were able to live out our mission and be a vibrant and welcoming community of faith from 2030 and beyond. That we could somehow be stronger together. For partnering, it's difficult to assess any costs as we do not know which organization or building we should plan for. Efforts have been underway to build community with other United Churches in North Bay. We have enjoyed sharing activities such as the Fifth Sunday and the coldest night of the year and other activities. Our conversations with other United Churches have led us to appreciate what each congregation has to offer, but we believe that the other churches are not currently ready to consider our options. We have not yet approached the other United Churches with a proposed plan for partnership, and perhaps that is something that we may want to pursue once we have an idea of what form that might take. We also have not pursued the potential of partnering outside of the United Church. There may exist opportunities to amalgamate, merge, or share a church building with another denomination. This may open doors for us that we hadn't even considered for new ways to serve God, while recognizing that it will not be business as usual for us if we engage in a true partnership. One definition from an early church: a community of people who have gathered to worship, have fellowship to serve, and to witness about the work of God. I think this is a great definition to keep in mind, as it talks about doing things together as a community and does not say what shape that community should take. I have a few pictures to highlight the success of others and to inspire some inspiration. This picture is just 3 examples. I just Googled United Church and found these are 3 different congregations, new congregations that have formed by merging or amalgamating multiple congregations together, and they're celebrating their success. Our next slide shows partnership opportunities. Here's some pictures celebrating United Church, Anglican, and Presbyterian Church as they sign a lease to share office space. And on our next slide, we see the Anglican Church of Canada and the members of the Anglican United Church Dialogue. There has been lots of conversations going on in all sorts of forms within the United Church. We learned many things from the pandemic, including that we can successfully do things differently. We already have the ability to think outside the box while still living out our mission. So this is a second option that we could consider if moving forward. And I will hand it back to Amanda.
Option 3 is to move to a new location and either build or purchase and renovate an existing building. While the cost of such a venture is very daunting, when we're talking about multiple millions of dollars, a new or new to us building would allow us to dream. In terms of new build, we have found that an average construction cost of church ranges between $300 and $350 per square foot. Given we currently have 19,800 square feet here, if we were to rebuild the same size, construction costs would range between $6 and $7 million. If we were to demolish and rebuild just the sanctuary and fellowship hall, so keep Cochrane Hall, the offices, the fireside room, nursery, kitchen, and gym, these costs will be approximately $4.5 million. We will have an opportunity to worship in an attractive, growth-oriented, purpose-built, efficient, and accessible building and enjoy, at least in the near term, lower operating and maintenance costs. As a matter of comparison, Bethel Gospel Chapel in the Pinewood area was built in 2016 for $4.2 million after a decade of preparation. It is 17,000 square feet, a prefab building with softening pieces on the inside for sound, and is a multi-purpose space. Bethel elders paid for the building through a capital campaign, a loan from the Stewart Family Foundation, and also borrowed money from their congregants. When we dream, we could design an attractive and right-sized building from the ground up. The new church would be fully accessible and would be ideal for serving our mission to our congregants and to our community. Our new building would be located where we could continue to serve the unhoused. It would be purpose-built and flexible to our needs and also the needs of our partners and those who utilize our space. It would allow us to carry lower operating and maintenance costs as the heating would be more efficient. A new building would foster community growth, provide a modern space for worship, and potentially offer space for many other community organizations, offering care and justice for our neighbors. A new building might be a dream come true. So, now what? Now you have an important job to do. We've prepared a summary of today's information for you to take home. If you're viewing online, please reach out to the church office to request your copy of the letter and information summary. We are asking that you please prayerfully consider the information provided so far and then discuss it far and wide. We wish to lean on our collective hive mind. The term hive mind refers to collective intelligence. It highlights the idea that a group can achieve a higher level of intelligence and problem-solving capacity than the sum of each of its individual members. We invite you for lunch on May the 4th. We will have lively discussion after church. We hope that you will help us recognize any additional blessings and challenges we haven't already thought of that are associated with each option. We obviously don't have all of the answers, nor do we even know if we have all of the questions at this point. However, we'd love to hear from you. We will all be going downstairs for coffee after this presentation, and our contact information is also in the cover letter that's included in your letter. Please do reach out with any comments, concerns, questions, thoughts, ideas, prayers, or dreams. We will see you on May the 4th. Thank you.